Are you ready to create healthier, wealthier, and more beautiful spaces? My name is Naomi Findlay and welcome to The Reno Show. Each week, I'll be bringing you a value-packed episode of incredible room reveals, hands-on renovation tips, upcycling hacks, and so much more. I am passionate about renovating for life, and I can't wait to take you on this journey, creating spaces you can thrive in. Get ready for our best season yet.
Welcome once again to Property News Update, and my guest this week is Simon Pressley from Propertyology. It's going to be a little bit different for him because we normally have very serious subjects, but we certainly try not to do too many serious ones in this show. And what we're going to cover this week in the show is the oldest regional city tops Sydney returns, the best Halloween venue that I've ever seen, downsize and give something back, a nice story, live like an ambassador, and here's an opportunity for you to rub shoulders with Barbie, just what my guest loves to do. Back with Simon Pressley in just one moment.
Did you know you can save up to 70% on your staff costs by outsourcing the low-value, repeatable tasks so your team can focus on growing your business? LtdBeepo is an outsourcing provider focused on the real estate industry. With an English-speaking, tertiary qualified and fully trained team in the Philippines, LtdBeepo will give your business the boost it needs to start growing and returning value to you. For more information, visit beepo.com.au.
And welcome into the show, Simon Pressley from Propertyology. G'day, Simon. We were saying before we hit record here that this is a bit of a different show for you.
Very different for me. I'm not usually deep and heavy into the data sort of stuff, so we got something very light-hearted and quite comical, I think, some of these. That's good.
I chose a story for you I thought it'd be really nice, and that's the Barbie story. We'll come to that right towards the end. So.
What are you trying to tell me, Kevin?
Oh, nothing, mate. No, I won't go there. Listen, let's take a serious one. This is one of your stories, and I love this one. The oldest regional city tops Sydney returns. Over the last 20 years, the property market of Australia's oldest regional city has outperformed that of Australia's oldest and biggest capital city. Some of your research here, Simon, tell us what this is about.
Yeah, so our motivation for doing this, Kevin, we often talk about the various myths, and there are lots of them in property markets, and probably one of the most common ones is that capital cities perform better than regional markets. You and I have always known that not to be the case, but we did a case study, Australia's oldest regional city, which is Launceston, for those who don't know that, know which one that is, and Sydney, our oldest capital city. We looked at their performance over the last 20 years. So that 2-decade period deals with all sorts of myths in relation to population growth, capital growth, rental returns, vacancy rates, infrastructure, risk. We dig into all of it, looking at our oldest capital and our oldest regional city.
Yeah, really interesting research, and we've got a link that'll take you to Simon's website, in fact, where we're going to run this story on Property TV because I think it's such a good one. We'll take you to the original story on Simon's website. So click on that link, have a look at that, and have a look at the interesting research behind it. Hey, before I take you to our next story, which is a bit of a scary one, but before we take you to that, a reminder that Real Estate Talk is out tomorrow. I don't think you're on this show, but you're going to be on the next one. Or no, hang on, I think you are on this show. Anyway, a lot of really great guests on the show, and I'm going to talk to a young person who's had some experience about bidding at auctions and how you really should get to know your auctioneers. A lot of great stories coming out for Real Estate Talk. It's out tomorrow, so don't miss that. Hey, off to story number 2. Another one I chose just for you, mate. This one comes from Fox, and I think, Steph, if you're ready, let's just play a little bit of music here. You'd recognise that theme, wouldn't you, Simon? You would have been growing up with the Addams family as I did.
Absolutely. It takes me back to the old black and white days.
That's right, it was in black and white too, wasn't it?
Black and white, yeah. I remember
it was
having
too.
afternoon tea when I got home from primary school, and this was often on the box.
And what's
Showing my
this?
age.
What's this? That's Thing, wasn't it? Thank you, Thing.
Yeah, very
Remember,
very good
Thing
memory.
used to come out of the box and...
Very good memory. Some wonderful characters in the Addams family, wasn't there?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it certainly was. And the reason we're talking about this is because, would you believe that they've recreated the mansion? And this is quite an incredible story. But it would be a great place to have Halloween. Halloween's, of course, due in a couple of weeks, I think. Probably, like me, you really follow that, do you? Halloween?
I think Halloween's one of those things. It's always been very American. America gets right into it.
Yeah.
It was never sort of part of our household as children, but I've got a 12-year-old going on 13, and he seems to be right into it and trying to get Bridget and I into it. But yeah, I guess if you're into Halloween, a good novel idea getting in the Addams family house, isn't it?
Yeah, well, apparently, according to the story, you can actually rent a room for the night. So I don't know. I thought Halloween was more about going and knocking on doors to get sweets, but I could be wrong about that.
Morticia, having dinner with Morticia, was that her name?
That's right, Morticia. And what was the Lurch, wasn't it? Was the big...
The big guy with the bolts in his neck, is that his name?
Yeah, well, he was a bit like... what's the name of that guy that was... it's Dracula. No, it wasn't Dracula. Oh, anyway, it doesn't matter. It's interesting story. So if you want to go and spend Halloween there, just use that link and that'll tell you how you can get there. Hey, story number 3 comes from Domain. Downsize and give back. A nice story, this one. I love this. And I also love the tiny house. I didn't know that they had a tiny house festival in Bendigo earlier this year, but this was actually manufactured there, and it's an opportunity to raise some money for Habitat for Humanity in Victoria, with bidding to start around $30,000. What about you, mate? Could you live in a tiny house, do you reckon?
Not permanently. And like you, beautiful place, Bendigo. Lots of good things come out of it, but I wasn't aware that they made these tiny houses. Like quite an elaborate caravan, isn't it, Kevin? Really well fitted out.
Yeah, it is. And I don't know, have you seen these shows on television, tiny house shows where they actually build these things? Have you?
I have seen some of them. Yes, there's some very creative people out there.
I think something good that comes out of it is the ability to get so much into such a small space and how to use it creatively. But I've got to say, mate, I don't think I'd be able to sleep in one of those. I can't even imagine being in a caravan, let alone one of these things. They're called tiny homes, but they have the ability to be able to be towed. I think that's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And I guess whilst certainly some people might choose to live in it permanently, it could be used like a caravan, Kevin. And if you stayed in it for a week or so in lieu of paying for hotel accommodation, I can see the market there. Domain story also talks about some people are interested in buying them as a cheap alternative for Airbnb. Again, some very creative thinking there. But the thing I liked about Domain story here, Kevin, is the manufacturer has done this for a very good charity, trying to sell it off and raise some funds for a family with some significant hardship. So what a good story. Yeah,
great story. We'd like to bring you a nice story of that every once in a while. We're going to take a quick break, come back after this. REA give us our next story about living like an ambassador. I might put a valuation on this and ask you what you think about living in Canberra in one of these houses. Simon Pressley joins me. Simon, of course, from Propertyology. We'll be back after this very short break.
Your business card is a vital selling tool and a constant visual reminder of who you are, what you do, and more importantly, how you can be contacted. Introducing our new Velvet business cards, featuring a luxurious premium laminate that has a velvet texture and is soft to the touch. Printed on a resilient 450 GSM card, these cards can be printed with a range of spot gloss and foiling options to give your office that prestigious look.
Okay, now that we're back paying some bills, thanks to our wonderful sponsors for this high-ranked program, and our viewer numbers are going to go up through the ceiling when they find out that you're on this, Simon Pressley. So.
You're too kind, Kevin. Thank you.
Mate, our next story comes from realestate.com.au, who tell us you can live like an ambassador. Avid property investors can now consider purchasing the building that houses the Embassy of Zimbabwe, which has been listed for sale for $1,870,000. Was originally purchased, I think, several years ago for $1.1 million. So they're looking for a bit of capital growth here. You'd have no worries with security, Simon, though, would you?
Wouldn't think so, and I couldn't help myself, Kevin. You know I love data, so when I read this story, I had to get the calculator out, my friend.
I was hoping
yes,
you would.
The current owner bought it in 2008 for $1.19 million, and it's currently listed 11 years later for $1.87. So if they sell it at the list price, that's $680,000 profit. Sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, but it's 4.2% per annum. Average over the last 11 years, which coincidentally is exactly what Canberra's done over that 11-year period.
Oh, they also brag in there that you get a good tenant, because I think the embassy have to stay there for another 12 or 18 months or something. So I can imagine you might get a nice little return out of that too for this, short term. But who's going to rent it after that?
Well, I don't know. I guess it's somewhat of a luxury home, isn't it? And it's certainly in a very popular part of Canberra. One thing I noticed, I had to Google map it, Kevin, and it's surrounded. The whole neighbourhood is surrounded by similar houses, high quality houses, occupied by other embassies: Vietnam, Croatia, Bangladesh, Kuwait, Algeria, Jordan. Like they've all got an embassy there. Yeah. I guess that's Canberra, isn't it?
Well, that is Canberra. A couple of other things sort of intrigued me too. You know how we hear about, I mentioned security there, but also bugging embassies is a big thing. You'd want to get a bug sweeper in there, wouldn't you, to make sure that there's no bugs anywhere?
I think so. Perhaps it's no coincidence that all these other embassies are all in the same neighbourhood. Yeah. I guess it makes it easier for Canberra's federal police to monitor it when they're all sort of clustered together. I don't know. And
the few times that I've been down to Canberra, I've been there a couple of times and had a look at some of the embassies. They all seem to have guards out the front, so you'd probably have to make a few changes. Maybe there might be another embassy from some up-and-coming country that wants to rent it back from you. Who knows? A lot of embassies are absolute mansions, and this is by no means small. It's on 1,200 square metres, but a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. They're a middle-ring capital city dime a dozen, aren't they, really? This one does have some character features about it, though. So did you run a valuation over it? No, I didn't, but I guess, as I said earlier, that sort of an average of 4.2% average annual capital growth is exactly what the broader Canberra market has done. The stock standard house in middle-ring Canberra has produced the same sort of growth rate as that. Well, there you go. Okay, well, I can take you to our last story. We've left the best, rosiest one till right at the end. This one, it gives you the opportunity to rub shoulders with Barbie. Lovely story. This Barbie's dream house is no longer just a toy set. Now it's available to rent on Airbnb. Hey, Simon, I'll get a comment from you in just a moment, but I really do want to play this video. This tells you a little bit more about the Barbie house. Have a look at this.
For the first time ever, I'm becoming a host on Airbnb. So now you can stay at my Malibu dream house.
I'm Ibtihaj Muhammad, world-class fencer and one of the Barbie role models. Both Barbie and Airbnb believe there's no door you can't open. Like this door, where you can be an inventor. Or this door, where you can be an astronaut. And this door, where you can become a professional fencer like me. When you belong anywhere, you can be anything. And what better place to live out your dreams than from the Barbie Malibu Dream House?
You must have been really excited by that one, Simon. I know I was.
Oh, yeah, I'd maybe rush out and want to grab my doll set and set it up, Kevin. What do you think?
Well, mate, I reckon it's... What do they say in the story? It's about $60. Is that a day for a room? Or
$60 a night. Yeah, that's obviously got to... I imagine that's some kind of initial marketing burst to create some awareness for what is an extremely novel idea. Perhaps the owner of this property has got more money than sense. I'm not sure. They might prove me wrong. It might become extremely popular.
Well, I mean, as we saw in that video, you get the opportunity to go into all these little rooms and you can dream. Is that what Barbie's all about? It's sort of going into make-believe?
Well, I guess there'd be millions and millions of young girls out there that if knew of this would put a lot of pressure on mum and dad to stay there. And perhaps there's a lot of adult women as well that this might give them some fond memories of their childhood. So you never know. It might be a great idea.
What can we say? All I can say is I'm dumbfounded, but thank you so much for joining me, Simon Pressley. And watch out for Simon. He's a regular guest on Real Estate Talk, and who knows, you might even hear him tomorrow. Hey, good on you, mate. Talk to you later.
My pleasure, Kevin. Talk soon.
Simon Pressley there, and a quick reminder, Real Estate Talk is out tomorrow. Auction Update is out a little bit later this afternoon with Kevin Brogan. All these great programs, of course, you'll see them all on propertytv.io. I'm Kevin Turner. See you next time.